What's up, guys? Welcome back to the S3 Magazine podcast. Today we've got Shawn Bassett. We're going to talk about his Carbon Z right there he's got behind him. Stick around. All right, guys. Welcome back to the S3 Magazine podcast. We got Shawn Bassett here. He's got a beautiful Carbon Z that we featured on one of our issues. I think it was 2 issues ago.
Sounds about right.
I mean, beautiful thing. We got Tim Neely back. What's good, man? Glad to have you back. Wooly.
Oh, it's always good to be here.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me on. I just, have this, beautiful magazine right
Oh, yeah.
here. I think I got a nice little feature in here.
Ooh-wee.
Which one are you in, Shawn? Are you in?
It's the last magazine on Earth.
Oh, I'm just on this one.
Ooh.
That's the one.
Ooh-wee.
Nice, right?
Yes.
Yo, that was a fun shoot.
I appreciate you coming out. That really was a lot of fun, and we didn't break the car.
Yeah.
You're like in a rare twist of events. Now, hold on. So,
okay, yeah.
Shawn, you're from Jacksonville, or you live?
I'm originally from Tallahassee. Moved to Jacksonville when I was younger, and now I live in Orlando area.
Oh, okay. So, I'm from Jacksonville originally, but
Nice.
live in
Al's
Georgia
Pizza.
now.
Tear that up.
Yes. Yes. I'm from the Dirty Duval, the 904. I have a
Nice.
bunch of friends who I think still work at Al's Pizza, but a lot of them worked at Al's Pizza for a long time.
Buddy Chris
Okay.
Wilder drug me out there pretty much every night. So
Okay.
Tim's
knows-
from Ohio.
I used to dream of Al's Pizza, like for real. Al's Pizza was like a dream for me.
We'll make it down there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man, let's get into it. Shawn, you've got a ridiculous Carbon Z. And okay, so I saw this, the first time I saw this was at the Toyo Tire Tread Pass SEMA 2018. It was my first SEMA. And flooded around all these, beautiful cars. I see this Carbon Z over here. We can start. What's going on with that thing? Like, that's insane. Like, it's perfection at every single bit. You want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
It's my first SEMA as well, which was pretty crazy to not only go to SEMA for the first time, have your car be there, but also be in the Tread Pass. I mean, Toyo's been a great partner of mine for pretty much since the get-go. But yeah, it was surrounded by a bunch of crazy cars.
Yeah.
Didn't know if my car was it's not a show car, but the saying is every race car is a show car. But like I was gonna have my car right next to real show cars, and people spend some serious money and time and effort. So I really wasn't quite sure how I'd stack up, but we did really good. I entered in Battle of the Builders, and I think I got just got knocked off for, I guess I was an import,
Yeah. Okay.
which is interesting, but all good. But yeah, it was crazy to even go. I think I got top 6 or something like that, and thousands of cars for.
Okay, so 2018 was your first SEMA ever, and you go
Yep.
with a car?
Yeah.
Dude, how did you?
Full send.
How did
No
you?
kidding.
Did you trailer the car? Did you have it shipped out there, or how did all? Like, what were your nerves like? I mean, if somebody asked me if I wanted to take a car to SEMA, I've been going for 15 or 16 years, and I would still be all unraveled and full of nerves trying to figure out how to get it there, and worried that something would go wrong and you'd let people down. Like, what's it like going when you don't even know what the hell you're going to, or what the layout would be like? Right?
I mean, it's very true. So I built the car. So prior going to SEMA, long story short, did a track day at the firm, and I saw a little 240Z running around there. I was getting out of two-wheeled racing, getting into four-wheeled racing. I was like, man, I'd love to have me a little 240Z. Guy pulls in the pits. He's just having a blast. It's a stock car, just on slicks, and I mean, he's killing it out there. And just looks like he's having a ton of fun. Fast forward a week later, I've got an $1,100 240Z. It's a turd. Learned a lot about classic cars. And then we have this stupid thing now. So we're like probably it's January coming up to SEMA, right? So I think was that 8 months out or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm working with a friend of mine, and he works with Toyo, and they're looking for cars that are off the radar that like kind of would blow up there type thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So he's like, would you be interested in going? And I kind of wanted to do SEMA, but my heart's racing, so it's not as big of a deal to me. So they're like, well, I sent some renderings to Toyo and like, dude, this thing's nuts. Is this gonna actually be the car that shows up? Because a lot of cars at SEMA that the render far, like it just isn't the same thing that shows up.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know any other way. I'm not a SEMA car, show car builder guy. This is my race car that I'm going to bring. So January, they're like, yep, we're doing it. Your car is going to be in the Toyo Tread Pass area. It's not going to be one of the featured spots. It's going to be in the Tread Pass area. And like I've never been to SEMA, so I knew it was big, but I didn't really like understand like the scale of how big SEMA was. I do now, but it was probably good that I didn't know how big it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I definitely had like a lot of pressure that like I knew like this is where all your top car builders and manufacturers go in one place. I knew it'd be a great opportunity to talk to a lot of potential partners and stuff like that. But like I knew where I was going in the big guns. And so, yeah, January of 18, they said, yep, you'll be in the booth. And it definitely hit me like it got really, like the span of getting to SEMA was so quick. Like it took me 3.5 years to build a car up to getting, the nod to go to SEMA. And then, man, that 8 months was, I mean, seriously, I go to work, I come home 5:30 to 11, 12 every night and then all day Saturday, Sunday for 8 months to get the car done. And
Wow.
I just didn't want to show up to, I don't know. This is my thing. So I just didn't want to show up and I don't know.
Like misrepresent yourself or like disappoint.
Well, I have heard so many people of cars showing up and they were just, like half-assed. I just didn't want to be that car, and I didn't want to be that guy.
There's a lot of glitz and glam, but like under the surface, those cars don't run, or they're abortions, or they've been taped together at the last minute.
Right.
But two things to add to that story, and the guy's name that's kind of been put in charge of Toyo Tread Pass,
Stan.
Is it Stan? Okay, because
Yes.
I know the Toyo
Stan
guys.
and Carl.
Okay, I know the Toyo guys real well on the marketing side and the PR side. But one of the things, just for anybody that's listening, like the Toyo Tread Pass connects, like, what is it, the north and the south or east? I don't know, whatever.
It's
the two big
performance
halls.
hall to the other big hall.
Yeah, so it's a shortcut more or less, but it becomes this big, widely cut, probably 200 yards or something. And Toyo basically makes a tread pass, a pathway, and lines it with cars. Now, the big thing about this tread pass is these cars cannot be seen prior to tread pass. So
that was really hard.
Yeah, you can't be throwing it on social media. You can't. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, Jesse, but these cars can't be hitting social media or magazines or anything like that. It has to be secretive until it gets there. So that's really dope. The other thing about that year that you were in Toyo Tread Pass, I didn't know who the hell you were. Like, we had never met. I swear to you, at least 3 people came to me over the course of SEMA, where there's like 1 million people. Like 3 people came up to me and was like, yo, do you know Shawn Bassett? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And they're like, okay, he's got a Carbon Z, orange wheels or whatever it was at the time, and he was like, you guys got to go see that car because he's an awesome dude and you will love the story, and he's like done this all on his own in his garage, and this is not some big funded thing, and it's totally S3 and it's totally S3 style. So just the fact that like 3 people would come up to me at an event like that and like vouch for you was like, okay, what the hell is going on with this guy? That's just weird. Like, that's just weird that like people would keep, circling back to that car. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty rad, man. Like, and that's part of the story, right?
Probably one of the craziest experiences of my life. I mean, I think everyone works on their car all the way up to SEMA. I mean, I my car all the way till, I mean, like I was putting decals on the night before. I just think the difference from mine is it was, we had a finished product, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hadn't like tuned the car and got it like really like running, but like it was all there. And I think that's my little regret is I wish I could have, we had like a built motor and stuff like that. It just wasn't ready we just didn't have time to get it tuned and all that stuff like that. So we chose to push it in and out, which really like irks me to this day. But it catapulted my name, which I don't know what that's worth, but I think it was cool to get recognition as a dude who built, for all intents and purposes, that car in a little 750 square foot pole barn. I had to build the shop to build the car, you know what I mean? And
that's awesome.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So again, if people are listening, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, this is true garage build, like, which is, again, it's significant because of how radical the car is and how like well put together it all is, but like, and how on purpose everything kind of is. Usually garage builds, you just kind of go with the flow and kind of, whatever. But like to go from never being at SEMA and picking up a car for $1,000 and building it in your garage and then getting to that level, that is pretty like a unicorn. Like that is pretty unique.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. SEMA things are usually kind of planned out from the get-go, like before the car's acquired or something like that. It's part of the plans. And it's usually built by people that have so many connections that like
exactly
it's going to SEMA, like, hey, I'm gonna get this car, we're gonna build it, it's gonna go to SEMA, and yours was not really like that.
No, mine was built for the racetrack and it just so happened to go to the SEMA on the way. So
and
it was the craziest experience of my life. I honestly think the second SEMA was crazier for me. We almost did like a world tour with the car. Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty hard to one up the tread pass. That's like if you're building a car. I mean, there's a couple of booths that you want to be in, and the tread pass is definitely one of them. So first time going to SEMA and being in the tread pass, that was I honestly didn't think I was going to go back to SEMA just because I was kind of like, well, what booth would I be in? You know what I mean? Yeah. In like cars that go to SEMA for the second year typically you like downgrade your booth. You don't really like upgrade.
Right.
And then Holly's a great partner of mine, and they asked me to be in the booth. They're like, we want to do less product on. We want more product in car. We want more cars with our product in it than we want just product on shelves and stuff like that. So they did an insane booth, and I was really lucky to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's nuts. And when according to S3 magazine, the magazine that we run, the article said, so when you got that car, you kind of pulled the trigger, right? Like you were there and you're like, I'm gonna buy it. You got it home, realized like, what was it? Was it rusty or there was something that was kind of compromising your plans?
Rusty would have been ideal.
Okay, so it was rust, right? So a lot of the reason
I got rot. I would have loved to have a rusty car.
But like, I guess the point is the reason it's as wild as it is and as one-off as it is, and probably the reason it got to SEMA was because of that setback. Because didn't you just kind of like throw your tool at the ground and be like, dang it, and then kind of have this epiphany where you're like, all right, this sucks. It's rotted out. This is not ideal, but we're going to deal with it. We're going to make it better. We're going to cut out whatever we need to cut out and strengthen whatever we need to strengthen and just deal with it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I had it my way from the get-go, I really just wanted a 240Z. I just wanted to do an LS swap, coilover suspension, slicks, just something to literally to just go to the track and, have fun, not to do any serious racing with or anything like that. And then, I built, pre-runner trucks before. I built, I built a lot of other things before. I've never, and been an import guy forever, but I've never owned a classic car before. I had a Range Rover Classic, which was a whole nother nightmare, but I had my taste of rot. So any Range Rover, Land Rover guys out there, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I got the Z, I did the old knock test all over it, and it's like it's got some spots on it, it's pretty, but it's $1,100, and this was right before the 240Z like boom went, right? Like this was like a year before it went off, and then we get it back to the house, and then just kind of my style for everything's always been I have expensive taste, but I always buy the cheapest version I can, do my thing, put my hard work into it, and then I end up with something nice. Yeah. And a lot of people don't really see that; they just see the nice part of it. But anyway, so I get the car back, and then I start taking fenders and stuff off because I want to spray the car and line the. Yeah. Anyways, just want to take it apart and see what I'm working with, and just every time I took something off, it was just like this is a nightmare. And I just kept taking parts off, and it was pretty bad, and I knew it was pretty rough, but I just got to a point where I found so much like Bondo on the car that a buddy of mine who owns like a sandblasting company, he's like, well, sandblasted, let's get a fresh start on it, right? So we got this thing fully stripped down, and then we send it off. I send off a nice shiny yellow car, and I get back a phone call. And he goes, this is right when Mad Max was coming out. I remember this vividly. And then he goes, Shawn, have you seen Mad Max yet? I said, nope. He's like, you got a perfect movie car. And then I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, this thing, just toss it. It's no good. So I get there, give him $300 for blasting the car, load it up, and then I just take it back to the house. And it's the worst shit you've ever seen in your life. It's like galvanized sheet, wood screwed over top of the most gnarly stuff. Oh no, it's crazy. It's the craziest stuff I've ever seen, and it was just so bad. And then it just sat on this dolly that I made for it, and I think I didn't touch it for like 6 months, and I wanted to do something with it, but it was just like, it's just too much, like it's too much to restore. Right. Yeah. And then I was getting out of two-wheeled racing, and one of the things I always wanted to do was race Pikes Peak on two wheels, and I never lined up to do it. And I think one day I went out in the shop and I was like, we're gonna build Pikes Peak car, and so I just cut a bunch of shit off of it, and there you go.
I'm just picturing this like the arms of the angels. Yeah. For $1,100, you can save a Z today.
Oh my goodness!
Some people say I ruined that car, but I mean, I really did. There's not much of the car left. I'd be honest. I don't know. There's probably less than 5% of the original car. It was that bad. I mean, it literally kept the good stuff.
Yeah.
Were the suspension mounting points solid, or
nope?
Was that nothing? Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that's amazing that you stuck with it at that point.
Yeah, so basically what's left of the car is the the bulkhead part of it, not the firewall, so the bulkhead and what the doors hang on. The door sill just where the doors close on the hinge part, or I'm sorry, the
striker.
Yeah, the striker.
Yeah.
The A-pillar, which I had to rebuild most of them, and then basically just like 3/4 of an inch around all of the body lines that I fixed most of that just to attach the carbon body to. That is it.
Oh my gosh.
What's the total weight? I didn't see that in the article. Maybe I missed it, but what's the car weigh?
So originally when we weighed the car, we were at like 2650 wet with me in it.
Okay.
So
what motor is in there?
So just like everything is, my thing is I buy something cheap because I can't afford an LS7, or an LS6 or whatever it is, a crate motor. So a coworker of mine was like, yeah, I've got this old, 5.3 engine, $300, you can have it. And I was just like, okay, that's a good placeholder. Put it in there. I can build a car, and And come to find out, it's an L33, so it's an aluminum 5.3 high compression motor, and they make good horsepower. You know what I mean? And come to find out that I got myself a little gym, $350.
Now, what does that? I don't know much about LS really, but like, what does that come out of? What kind of vehicle?
It comes out of a very specific and rare Equinox or
Okay.
but more likely that comes out of a Z71. So it's
Okay.
out of a 2015, most likely a 2015 Z71.
Okay.
Hell
So
yeah.
it's a all aluminum motor, flat top
Yeah.
piston. So and then I had the head sent out, poured and polished. We got a stage 3 Brian Tooley cam in it, valves. You know, it's besides the rotating assembly, it's a built motor.
Okay.
Probably
How-
makes probably 450 now.
Nice.
Since Holly helps you all out and Holly's awesome and Blaine's awesome over there, what kind of Holly stuff?
Blaine's my dude.
Blaine,
Yeah.
but
Blaine is,
what?
who just had his second child right now.
First?
Congrats to him.
Crazy.
Oh, is his first?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking about
Right?
somebody else now.
Yeah, first time.
I think it's his first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so what kind of Holly what's it running? What's it got as far as Holly goodness?
So we're Holly is a parent group company for MSD, a bunch of other things. So we're running the So we're running the MSD
Everything.
Atomic, Air Force intake. And man, that thing is the most powerful intake manifold on the market for LS motors, especially NAs. It just it's very complex inside, and it's modular. It's really, really cool. We are running the Dominator ECU, and then we're running the 13.5-inch Pro Dash. And a bunch of other Earls parts and stuff like that. A bunch of Holly parent Holly group stuff. But it's way faster. Like, people think like, 450 horsepower. That's normal. For a Civic nowadays, but
Right.
it weighs 2,600 pounds with me in it. I mean, it is scary fast to drive, and then not to mention it's extremely aero heavy. I guess it's as close as a big go-kart as you can get. I mean, it's super, super grippy. There's nothing like you can drive to prepare for this thing. It's like I guess
What
your
spring
average person.
rates? What spring rates are you running?
So I'm running BC Racing ZR 3-way coilovers with Swift springs. I need to double check what we have on the car now, but it's a pretty stiff setup. I mean, there's a lot of aero on the car, and I guess as far as the suspension goes, one of the things about a 240Z that's not very good is the suspension on the car. So I decided to run S13 base suspension, so it's got 240 SX based suspension underneath it. There's nothing factory except for the subframes that have been welded and braced up and stuff like that. But that's
So it's
why.
S13 front and rear?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So that's what gives its width. Obviously, it's got some big wheels and tires, but that's kind of you can see the width of the two cars.
See? And this is the good thing that happens when you buy just a totally clapped out rock car, is that you can just do whatever.
You got to get creative.
With enough determination, you can do it.
Yeah.
There's less fear of cutting,
Well, what do you got stopping all of that? Because I've seen this thing get up and go, and I've seen you like sort of lose it on the back end sometimes on some turns. What do you got stopping them?
Yeah. So one thing, when we went to the track, I had I've got no allegiance to them, but I had a Willwood setup of just an off-the-shelf S13 kit, and I'll be honest, it's great for a street car, but it's not good for a car that's got 295s up front and tons of aero and stuff like that. I don't think no knock to them. Engineers weren't designing it when they thought of a S13 like that. So just didn't have enough, I feel like, clamping force, and it's axial mounted, so you get some deflection under really hard braking. So again, no knock to them, but this car really needed a serious brake package under it. So we're running the Stop Tech Trophy kit. So it's a massive brake setup in the front, and we're running a Z32, so 300ZX twin turbo rear setup, and then front and rear we're running G-Lock pads.
Okay.
So we're strapped up.
So one of the most interesting things is like when I first talked to you about this thing is anytime you needed to do something with it or you needed to fix something, you would learn how to do that, or you would do it from your own skill. And if you didn't know it, you would stop building, learn that whatever skill, and then do your best to it. How often did that happen, and where did you need that the most?
So that so that's like a kind of a question I get from people on just random guys on Instagram. Hey, I'm building a car. How did you build a full carbon fiber body or something like that?
Right.
And what I tell everybody is this has been a process for me for years. I've been wrenching since I was, a little kid, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, I think I built my first, my first V8 when I was 15 years old with my dad, and we completely tore a motor and put it all back together. And, stick welding and, a bunch of crappy welding and stuff like that. But, what I tell people is don't start with this. You know what I mean? If you want to pick up a welder and you want to build a tube chassis, you don't learn how to weld on a chassis. Make a crappy bumper for your truck, and then make a less crappy bumper for your friend or something like that. And so it definitely, for me is, one thing I wasn't very proficient with is, TIG welding when I started this car. So I bought a TIG welder, and I made a fishing pole rack for my buddy, for his boat, and some other stuff to kind of get used to it. But the quality that I wanted on the car is not something I wanted to start with. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted the finished product to be, to rock solid. I am literally putting myself in this thing that I built in a garage. So that's something that weighs on me quite a bit is, the safety of the car. And, if I don't trust my skill now, I'm not going to put it on the car. Right.
That's fine. And so all the carbon fiber work, did you do that yourself, or where does that play in? Did you have experience in that before?
Yeah, so years and years ago, I used to work, another long story we'll make short. I worked at a Ducati dealership, and, I've been two-wheeled racing my whole life, and I was just always surprised how much carbon fiber parts cost. It was crazy. And if you work at a Ducati dealership, it's nothing but carbon fiber parts for Ducati. Yeah. So, I was just like, man, that's crazy, what our cost is on these things and what the retail is on it. And I was just and then I did a little bit of Googling, and I'm like, carbon fiber is not expensive. You know what I mean? If you just Google a fabric, I didn't know much about it. And then so it's well, I'll buy some carbon fiber. So and this was way before this was a black art. There wasn't any tutorials on how to do it. So I bought the material. It shows up and it's just fabric. And I'm like, how do you make this hard, rigid? And so, So a bunch
easy
of
bake oven.
Right. Yeah. So I did a bunch of, talking to the tech guy at, company called US Composites in Florida. And I've been buying, material from them for years. And, it's oh, well, you need this resin. It was a mess, man. The first kind of couple of parts I made were just absolute trash. And then I got to a point where, I would actually make a part and be proud of it to be on my bike or my race bike or something like that. And then, some friends, that's just how any business starts is next thing you know, you're making stuff for your friends, and then, your friends are buying stuff from you and stuff like that. And then I turned it into a business, and, part of owning a business is that passion that I started out with, you lose that because now all you do is make stuff for other people. Yeah. And so I kind of got out, of making things that I want. I got to do some really cool stuff. I made stuff for MotoGP bikes, bunch of really stuff for factory Yamaha and Suzuki Racing, and that was really, really cool. Yeah, and I was young. I was 24 making MotoGP parts and stuff like that, and but
did you have an autoclave, or where did you bake all this stuff? How did you? Because isn't that a big part of the process? I mean, excuse
it
my
can
ignorance,
be.
But
that's one of the the misleading things about carbon fiber. We look at F1 cars, and they spend $1 bazillion, and that's how you have to make them, and it's not right. It's there's so many other ways of it's like welding. How many different welders are there? What process do you use for this type of material and stuff like that? You can use an autoclave, but all of you guys starting out, you don't need that. You know what I mean? The difference between an autoclaved part and a vacuum infusion part is we're talking ounces, and it's just not something that's needed. But yeah, so anyways, ended up having a client and then of mine, and then gave me a job offer, and I started working for him, and so I was burnt out with carbon fiber. I really didn't want to do anything carbon fiber at all for a while. Did it for 5-6 years, and I ended up kind of going to a desk job, and it was nice to, not come home. I would take showers in the morning as opposed to taking showers at night. So that was a little nice. And then I got the Z, and I was like, I still did carbon fiber parts here and there, but nothing crazy. And like I never. Okay, so the point to all of this is that I never really got to do anything for myself when I owned my carbon fiber business.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, the Z's are perfect. I've got time. Fortunately, I have the funds to kind of, to float it. So I wanted to just do the very best I possibly could and make, the best quality parts I possibly could on my own. And I'm really proud of the carbon work on the Z. It's
Dude,
really,
you should be. I took about 100 pictures of that car at SEMA, and I can't. I'm tripping over this story because I just think, particularly the Toyo booth in 2018, I just felt like every car that Toyo brought to SEMA was like, blew my mind. It just was like, then there was this car, then there was this car, then there was this car. And
they
your
killed
car,
it. 18 was crazy. That Raptor
car, when you see a full
so
carbon
nice.
car, like half the time I'm looking to see like, did they use, Avery Dennison wrap to,
Right.
cover. And your car, it was like unbelievably high level of workmanship, particularly in the carbon. So the fact that you made that all yourself, which I, didn't know at the time, and is honestly kind of blowing my mind even more now talking to you. It is, the workmanship, bro. It is. I would almost be afraid to drive it on the racetrack because
that's a problem
bending
for
stuff
sure.
up, it's like,
Well, and I think that's a problem that you run into is the car's so nice that people don't realize that you are there to kind of beat on it.
That was a problem with Toyo, with the tread pass. Not the problem with Toyo, but with the tread pass is that people seeing it for the first time. It's got a couple of little bangs and bruises. That being said, the car's still really nice shape. But it was mint, and people didn't understand that it was a race car.
Yeah, they didn't buy it.
No, they're like, what's the next car show for it? Like, the next thing is the racetrack.
Yeah. So,
Josh,
all right. So, first of all, I had two questions. One, what do you do for a living now? Is it car related? What are you doing?
Recently it is. So I worked in the professional audio market for 6 years, and I really liked it. And but I got some other opportunities to do some consulting for myself. We worked with some consultants, and I just was surprised what we paid them. And then, it's great, man. It's being a consulting has really allowed me to be a lot more flexible. And so what I do is help people run their businesses. A lot of people are on that threshold of, for example, I work with companies that are typically approaching $1 million in sales. And that's where they're like, we're doing really good. We just, we started this business, but we don't have any, knowledge of how to run a, not saying a professional business, but a lot of the ins and outs of, having, the meat and potatoes of what really successful businesses have. And so I come in and help them out and, grow their business and take it to the next level type thing.
That's great, because we have no idea how to run a business professionally. Maybe we can swap some. We can swap some exposure or something.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Some advice. We'll get it one day.
For me, I think that I really like running businesses. I think I get a lot of joy out of seeing something that started off small and then see where it's at now. And my newest venture, I'm still doing consulting with a couple of businesses, but recently we're bringing on Aftermarket Industries, which is do you know who they are?
No, I thought you meant you're bringing on Aftermarket Industries, like industries from the aftermarket.
Yeah, well, kind of. So Aftermarket Industries is an Australian brand, and basically they own the high-performance fuel industry over there. So I think the past 3 years, every Time Attack Challenge or World Time Attack car over there is running their fuel system. And there were one of my clients, and we're looking to. He's like, we've been kicking around U.S. distribution, so now I'm I guess president of North America for Fueled by AI. So
Hell yeah.
Nice,
Yes.
man.
yeah, so it's appreciate it. Yeah, so we're gonna kick ass and take names like we do in Australia over here.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. The other question I was just wondering is like where, like with the racing or the driving or the time attack or whatever the hell you want to call it, like what's the end goal there? Like what do you want to do with that car? Like where, like how far do you want to take it? And you.
So the end goal for the car was is Pikes Peak. I want to run the car in Pikes Peak, and the story to that is last year we got the car running and driving. We did our first global time attack race where we podiumed in pro comp class, and it was great. And then I applied to race Pikes Peak, and they say, Shawn, you want to come race a motorcycle? Great. But for a car, you don't have as much experience as as we're looking for, and that was a pretty big bummer. I spent 4 years building this car, got to the point where we raced it, got to Road Atlanta, the car did well, and then to hear that we weren't ready yet for Pikes Peak, and that was a pretty big bummer. And so we went to work and got some more races on our belt, and then reapplied last year for this year, and we got accepted, which is great. They only I believe they only added 3 more drivers, so I'm one of the 3, which is
congratulations.
Blows my
That's
mind,
awesome.
but yes. And then so yeah, that's where the end goal was Pikes Peak, and that's where we're approaching. So I'd like to do a World Time Attack Challenge in the car. That would be like another bucket list.
Yeah.
I was about to ask because Pikes Peak's gonna be here before you know it.
Hopefully.
So like, what's after that then?
I think it's 95 days. So
Yeah.
Speaking of things that hopefully happen, what do you think is going to happen with SEMA this year? You think it's going to go down, or you think they're going to cancel it, or you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's I'm personally looking to go to PRI for Fueled by AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
But SEMA, I don't know. I mean, I guess they won't have the casinos open. Maybe I don't know. It might.
I'm not gonna miss the smell of cigarettes.
Yeah.
No, I'll be fine.
I'm looking forward to next year.
Okay.
Right.
Because I'm hoping to have maybe do this all over again.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
What's the next car?
Top secret.
No, I mean we can talk about the next build is I always thought like the reason why I picked the Z is I always thought it was an iconic shape. I mean, you see the silhouette 240Z, you know exactly what it is. It's
Exactly,
an S chest. So the other car that just sticks in my brain of an iconic car is BMW 2002. So
Ooh, okay.
You doing wide? You going wide?
we're going real wide. So
I figured.
It's going to be a square.
Here it comes.
yeah.
We're gonna do the 13-inch wide square wheels.
Yeah. So the plan is we're actually going to pick it up tomorrow. It's a 74 BMW 2002. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty rough, but not nearly as bad as the Z. We don't need to do a full tube chassis, but we'll do a real serious cage in the car. But it's going to be another really wide, powerful, car. I get asked all the time.
They use those engines for the Formula One engines. Those things made like 1,400 horsepower.
What?
With the turbo.
Motor that was in the.
Yeah. They used the block because they were already stressed. They bought back 200,000 mile blocks in the 80s from the 2002s and used those as the base for their 1.4 liter F1 engines.
What?
Check one of those things out on a dyno. That could be you.
So purists don't like me because I'm
It's getting LS.
That sounds like a Facebook page.
Purists don't like me. I'm like it's crazy. I am practical when it comes to power plants. I want to be able to have the idea of something breaks and then go to AutoZone and get a part. Because that's the reality. For a real deal race car, I mean, I would have loved to put a 2JZ in the Z or a, RB or something like that. But if I have a coil pack go bad or alternator, my weekend's done for a cool motor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like realistic for the 2002. We're probably gonna do an S2000 motor. They fit in there really well. They make good horsepower, and if we break something, we don't lose a weekend for a part that I have to get from Japan or something.
For sure.
Right.
Or Germany for that matter.
Yeah, that's awesome because the 2002 is kind of like my crush car. Like I've always thought they were super cool. I love.
We talk about it every podcast.
Do you really?
Either Wooly or I bring it up every stinking podcast.
But you know what I mean? It's the car that has now gotten away from me. Like I'm not gonna spend the money to get one. I want one real bad, but I want one for $1,000.
It's like an air-cooled Porsche, right?
I have one of those, and I was lucky. Yes, because I got it before
before the Hot Boy tags.
Yeah, that's my whole retirement. Is I buy $1,000 cars, and I hope that a couple of them get valuable. That's what I got going for.
So that's
that 2002 is the one.
Yeah,
it's the one that's gotten away. Like I don't think I'll ever be able to own one, and I've always had such a crush on them. I don't know if y'all have cars like that. That just kind of slip through, man. They're just gone.
There's definitely some cars that I wish I could have again, or that I would like. I mean, it's just like, I'm sure we could all say that MK4 Supra or RX-7 or NSX. Those are unobtainable now. They just cost too much, and now they're That's
the problem. You get to a value to where you're like, they're cool, but they're just not worth that
40 grand for.
But they are. I'm not saying that you're wrong for buying one, but like our head as tuners is like,
you just get a lot of stuff for $40,000.
I'm cool with
that's
it.
the
My
problem.
bank account's not cool with it.
Yeah.
Right.
The only way like you can really justify the price tag on NSX is if it holds a sentimental value that you just can't put a price on or something like that. Right. But I don't know. The 2002.
Me and my chick, we're gonna build this kind of car together. So I'm gonna get her involved in it, and she's actually pretty good at welding. So we've done a couple things together, and she's taken a liking to the 2002. So we're gonna let her do some stylistic things. She's a really good interior designer, and that's kind of where the workshop is.
Hell yeah.
Too nice to be a workshop, but it's because of her. It's
what's you guys are also restoring an RV or something?
I've got a couple things going on. Yeah.
So is this and the other reason I just ran it past your Instagram, and you guys are like completely rebuilt the inside of an RV, right?
Yeah. So we bought some property in Mount Dora, Florida, and we're building a house there now. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of tricky when you're building a house because you don't have a house to live in. So so we're like, okay, we'll buy a fifth wheel. And kind of while the house being built, we'll buy a fifth wheel trailer. We're gonna go up to Pikes Peak and maybe stay up there for a month. While the house is being built, something like that. And then she follows a lot of chicks on Instagram that like take these RVs, $5,000-$6,000, completely remodel everything on the inside, and then flip them for 40. And I was like, man, that's pretty rad side hustle. You know what I mean?
That sounds like a TV show for you two.
Right.
It sounds like you guys got the skills, to do something.
And like I'm just the install guy is what I call it. But I mean, she really has a great eye for design, and she's done a fantastic job with making this $6,000 RV. You would not know you're in an RV. It's got everything that a house has, and you wouldn't know if you were inside if that you're in an RV.
That's killer.
I thought that was wild. Switch gears a little bit. What kind of cars have you had in the past? Like what got you?
Yeah, let's talk about that Range Rover. That Range Rover some more.
So my first car was a '89 CRX SI, and I tricked
Hey.
my parents.
Hey.
Yeah. So yeah, so I
I
tricked
need
my
to have
parents.
that air horn ready for these
Yeah,
movies.
right.
That's not good, guys.
So I tricked my parents and like thinking I'd get a little Civic. Now Civic SI is so slow, but then being 16, I think it was a rad little car, and then so I had an '89 CRX SI, and then I got I think it was a '90 or '91 hatch SI. So I don't know how I lucked out with getting two SIs. That was not planned. I didn't even know what an SI was. SI was when I first got the CRX. It just so
Really?
happened. Yeah, it was yellow SI, and then
Oh man, I love it. I love it.
yeah, and then so once I got into it, then I wanted a hatch, and then I got a red SI hatch, and then I ended up getting a EG, and doing a big all motor build, and so I was a Honda guy for a little bit, and then I got into motorcycles for a while. Didn't really do too much cool car stuff, and then I built a Mazda B2300 pre-runner. So it's basically a Ranger. So I did like a cut and length I-beam kit on it. So stupid wide truck and jumped it and stuff like that. It was fun. It was a fun little truck. And then sold it, made some money on it, and then a buddy of mine was kind of into Range Rovers and Land Rovers, and as right. And I saw a night. Is it? What's the last year that?
95.
95. So I've got
classic,
a 95 Classic, bought it in Tallahassee. It's a nice little truck, and then just like everything nice that I buy, I chop it up and make it mine, and so I turned it into kind of like a rock crawler truck, and
nice.
Yeah, that was a really fun truck. I mean, it was cool. That's one of the ones I'd like to have back.
I love those, and I sold all mine, and I'm depressed because they're like 25 grand.
Right.
So
I had mine on it. Dude, some guy on Instagram hit me up and was like, I want to buy that truck. I was like, okay. Like, I never talked to this guy before, and he's like, if my dad sends you a check, will you sell it to me? I'm like, okay, you're right.
Man.
And so then his dad calls me and he's like, my son wants your truck, and and he's like,
wow.
He's like, where do I send the cashier's check to? And I'm like, you haven't even told me what I want for it. He's like, my son must have it. So I told him a price, sent the check, and then a semi came and picked it up like a couple days later. I was
Dang.
Yeah, that's pretty
that's
bad.
so good. I love it.
Yeah.
That's how I
Tim
sold
had-
Too
my
hot boy
Lotus.
for me.
Instagram sold my Lotus for me that way. So
Nice.
I
I
feel
don't know.
you on
Yeah,
that.
I don't know if you ever saw the Lotus with the gold 1552s on it. It was in the magazine, but it's also been all over.
Was
the
it white?
No,
No,
it's
it's black.
Oh,
But I might be telling the story wrong, but whatever. I'm going to romanticize it. But basically, some dude walked up to him and was like, I'm buying your car. And it was one of those things. It's like, wait,
Pretty
I
much.
don't think I'm selling it. And he was
And
like,
then
no,
he
no,
showed
no.
up. He showed
You
up
don't
in
understand,
a,
dude.
in a Bugatti Chiron, and I knew he was serious. So
right. Nice. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you are buying my car.
Yeah.
So after the Range Rover, I really liked my pre-runner that I built. I had a lot of fun. Like, that was a really fun daily driver. But like, it was a Ranger, so it's slow. You know what I mean? So
I've had
I
one
got
of
yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
So I got a Frontier, like a Nismo Frontier, and I got it. I wanted to do some stuff to it. I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep this one stock. And then like
Famous last
and then
words.
3 weeks later, I had fiberglass fenders showing up, 37s, like a full long travel kit for it. But that truck really helped me with the Z, because everything prior to that, like, welding was good, but I really wanted to make a really nice truck. And I think, my Frontier was a really, really nice truck. I mean, I did some rally stuff out of the firm. And I did a track day there, and like I was messing up the track a little bit, and they're like, I was like, I'm just gonna end it for the day. Like, no, that thing's super rad, super fast. Just keep doing your thing all day long. I was real proud of that truck. I did like a full bed cage in it, made all my own bumper, all the fabrication work I did on that, and part of the goal with that is I wanted to do really nice fabrication work on that truck, and I'm really happy the way that it turned out. But it really set up a lot of tube work and chassis work to be able to do the tube chassis on the Z. So.
And how'd you get rid of that one? Or do you still have it?
Sold it, put it on Craigslist, and just got exactly what I wanted for it. It was great. A real deal pre-runner truck in Florida. Apparently is a high demand vehicle.
Yeah.
That's sick. I always preach in the magazine that a Honda is a totally unique and awesome. And when I say a Honda, I mean like a swapped hatchback, with VTEC. Honda is such a unique and at any price point type of car to drive, whether it's on the street or as a track car, weekend track car or whatever. So
it was literally up for me. It was between a BMW 2002 and an EG.
Okay, because I was gonna say, dude, be honest. Don't just agree with me, but like, okay, you started with Honda, then other car, and you've climbed the ladders, or so to speak, or whatever. Yeah. Like, do you ever miss or want to go back to just as screaming, rattly, 9,000 RPM Honda?
I am actually worried that I'm gonna wait too long and an EG will be out of my grasp. You know what I mean? It's just
gonna be your 2002 BMW.
Right. They're gonna be either so rotten or so valuable that you won't even be able to get one. That's my fear.
It's coming.
And I really have a fear that I only have so many more cars to build left in my life. Which cars do I pick? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've never had that thought. That's scary.
Yeah. So the Z is one of them. 2002 is one of them. But I really want an EG. I mean, I don't even think it was a thing yet. But I always wanted a S2000 rear wheel drive EG. That's I guess kind of a dream car. Is silly as shit. But that's. Yeah, I love that.
Well, see,
that's man, I don't even know how I afforded this shit, man. When I had my EG, I think I was 18 or 19. I had so much JDM parts in it. Man, I had the plastic headlights. I had all the Division Street corners. I had the the fold down flat plastic back seats. It was, I had all of that shit. I don't know how I afforded any of it. I mean,
how did you source where the internet was? How could you source all that?
A guy named in Tallahassee, a guy named Tom somehow had all this shit. I bought it from him, and I had real spoon mirrors on it, and
shout out to Tom.
Yeah, shout out Tom.
Tom was the plug, man. And then I remember having my motor. I had an LS motor in it. It was built. But it was all Honda. That was the cool thing about Hondas is you could hodgepodge a built motor with all factory stuff. So it was a LS motor, a big cams, all that shit. But one of the cool things I did with it, I felt at the time that this was probably 2002. So there was no YouTube videos on how to do all this shit. And then do you remember Chrome? You flash your computer with Chrome.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember that shit, but that was what you had. That was your your flash tune back there. Some dude in your town had Chrome downloaded on his
I remember that.
Tune your shit. But
oh my God.
Yeah, I had
danger to manifold.
Yeah, GSXR 1000 throttle bodies welded to OEM manifold. So I had ITBs back in the day. It was that little EG. Yeah, that was a fun little car.
Dude, because see, that's my prediction right there is we all started with Hondas, then we all climbed the ranks, so to speak, and got other cars. And then as our generation gets older, it's going to be one of those things where you go, and they made millions of them, right? So it's never been a thing. I can go to the pizza shop now and I'll pass 3 of them on the way.
Until it's a thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing.
50,000 rusted out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. All of a sudden, our whole
that Type R that sold for $60,000, that's gonna get us all. That thing's.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. All of a sudden, our whole generation is gonna within a year be like, damn, man, I just miss a raw, simple, cheap to build, cheap on consumables Civic. Honda that revs real loud and vibrates, and I can go drive it when I'm by myself and have a great time, And then we're all gonna turn around and look for an EG and be like.
Well, $50,000.
They either rotted.
I mean, I don't know when the last time I saw an EG hatch on the street. I can't remember the last time I saw one, and if it was riced out. I don't do stock ones exist?
Yeah, I had a dude.
Yesterday, I
bring
saw a bone stock
one.
S13 hatch. It was bone stock. It was just driving around, and some
You're
lady
like,
was just
"Ow!"
driving it. I was like, right. I was like, is this the only S13 in
Lady,
existence?
cut the
She
exhaust
bought
off
this
that
car
thing.
too. It's been her daily driver.
Yeah.
Said she bought it when she was
I had a
14.
guy bring one to my detail shop, and he sold it 3 weeks later for $25,000.
What was it?
What?
The EG hatch, just the EG hatch, white. He found some old lady that owned it. It was pretty much perfect. Had 103,000 miles, and he got big money from it locally. He was going to put it on Bring a Trailer, but
Crazy.
tons of freaking Gen X.
That's a lot of money.
Gen X guys were knocking down his doors. So,
well, I was about to ask you, since you're like the car, whatever flipper collector connoisseur, like, do you really think that Honda hatchbacks are going to hit?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
A surge
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, I think the last podcast somewhere where I was just talking about a buddy of mine sold a 90,000 mile Type R for $50,000, not on Bring a Trailer, just
crazy.
Out of his shop. I mean, it's crazy because here in Ohio they all rust out. So when you find one that's mint, it's worth real money. Old like Mark II Volkswagens and stuff like that too. They aren't $5,000 anymore because they're either totally ratted and destroyed or perfect and collectible. I don't know. It is a bummer because like if you want one, you got to spend the money.
What color is the 2002?
Or get lucky.
It's gonna be, and your Honda will like you. Championship white.
Nice with the Honda motor. I see what you did there.
I feel.
You should start the Purists Take Me Facebook page immediately.
Yeah.
For that car. For that car.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, I always loved Championship white and never had, I mean, that was, growing up that, Type R's were that, I couldn't afford a Type R. So that's, yeah. And I wanted.
What about, okay, like you had to, let's pretend you have to get a new car, 5 years old or newer. What would it be right now? Let's put like a $50,000 price limit on it, and all real world rules apply. So if you have kids, they have to fit them. You know what I mean? Like it has to fit your life. It has to work.
Well, I don't have kids.
Okay.
But $50K, man, I'm just like
what would you start looking at on Auto Trader tonight if I gave you like 45,000 and said
you gotta, like 4 to 5 years old though, right?
I mean, it can be new or something that you could still buy at a delership. So let's call it 5 years.
One car we didn't talk about that I had a SRT8 Cherokee.
Okay.
2014. I totally buy that car again.
Okay.
I bought the Cherokee. I was like, oh, it's got 600 horsepower or whatever, and but it's got a tow hitch. We can tow a race car trailer. I did that once and got 7 miles a gallon, so that didn't work. And then I got a diesel truck. But yeah, I mean, I would love to that thing was rad. I mean, that was the SRT8 Cherokee was so nice inside.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it like had all this adaptive cruise control. I mean, basically just steer. That was a really nice car. I would buy one of those again.
That's cool. I've had one as a press car. I've had with the SRT, and then I've had the Trackhawk. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Trackhawk is freaking brutal. Man, it is a sledgehammer.
Well,
what
a nice vehicle. Like just like on the inside, like everything's like,
really
nice car.
It was fun, and I drove it down to Orlando, actually. We went down to Disney, and I, too, without a trailer, was getting 13 miles a gallon. But there's just something about rumbling down the interstate.
Yes.
Just waiting, just like, please cut me off so I have a reason to use all this.
So
fun, man.
for a really long time, I got away from like fast cars because I got into a lot of trouble when I was younger, and then I got the SRT8 a couple years ago. I was like, I'm more mature now. I got this. We can.
Ready now.
The first day, I was drag racing my buddy and got pulled over. The first day.
Well,
you got
this
that
is not an SRT, but when I got my Fiesta ST, it was the same thing, man. It wasn't the first day I had it, but it was like the day I put the tag on it. and I pulled out of my neighborhood, like put the little registration in the glove box, pulled out of my neighborhood, and was ripping down. I live kind of out in the country, a little 2-lane road, and a cop kind of came over the hill and was going the other way, and I was like, I wasn't looking at the speedometer, and I was like, ooh, I might have been right there on the threshold. I wonder, and I looked, and I see his I see his brake lights, and I'm like, oh damn! So I pulled over. I'm already pulled over with my hand kind of out the window, and
you've been pulled over quite a bit with the double hand out.
I'm already pulled over.
Very aware of that move.
He just drives up behind me and gets out of the car, and I'm like, how bad was it? And he was like, dude, do you know how fast you were going? I was like, I really don't. I just got the car, and man, it was feeling good. You know, I was like, I know that. I was like, I know I saw you, and I thought I might have been going a little too fast. And he was like, 85, and it was like a 55 or whatever. And he was like, 85, and I was like, officer, I swear, you probably hear this, but I swear to you, I had no idea I was going that fast. He goes, I know, because you never slowed down. It's just 85 on my gauge as you went by. And I was like, I am so sorry. And he ended up knocking it down to like 60 just because I was trying to be, you
didn't get that super speeder decal.
He was like, dude, you know this as well. In Georgia, we have super speeder. Jesse knows. And yeah, he was like, dude, what are you doing? This is like super speeder territory. And I was like, I just put the tag on it, man. I've used this Jeep excuse a few times actually, and it works. I'm like, dude, I own a Jeep. Like, I just got this car. I do this magazine, and I don't really know. And we're just kind of like, got this.
I don't know what I'm doing.
This thing will get away from you, officer. And he's like, I know my wife's got a little car, and sometimes it does feel fast. Yeah, you know, just damn. Watch out, man. Like, watch what you're doing. And so, yeah, he loved it. But anyway, I've had the similar experiences like that with a brand new car. And I was like, damn, this isn't going to be good. Like, I should not have gotten this little thing.
Dangerous.
Anyway, there's something about that Fiesta, dude. It just kind of, it's like a wave, man. And the little factory turbo is so small that you get like right on top of that boost, and it just kind of goes. And it just feels so good. You can't stop it.
It screams. It makes you giddy.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my story. What else we got? Any other questions, Jesse? Or are we about wrapped up?
I think we about covered it all.
Any questions for our man Shawn here?
No, man, I really enjoyed this. I'm sad about the Range Rover, but other than that.
Yeah, I cut that thing up.
I'm just sad you didn't keep it.
Put some salt on that wood.
Yeah, dude gave you the money.
Can you guys hear him? I can't hear him.
Nah,
he's full robot. Full robot
Matrix right over here.
Yeah, he said something about Land Rover.
I can't wait to see the
No idea. All right, man. Well, Shawn, where can people find you at?
Pretty much only on Instagram. It's at ShawnB26, and then I've got a. Is that funny, huh? No.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, it's at ShawnB26 on Instagram, and then I have a Facebook for the race car page, Attacking the Clock Racing on Facebook.
Awesome. And where can we see you next? What's the next event or?
Pikes Peak. We're gearing up for Pikes Peak right now. I got the car behind me. We're putting air jacks on it. Got a couple of cooling things that we're working on, and then we're pretty much we're gearing up for testing at the firm. We got 4 dates scheduled. Dope. And then we've got some dates scheduled for when we get to Pikes Peak at the road course that they have at Pikes Peak, and then we do testing at Pikes Peak itself. So awesome.
What are you driving the daily right now?
I drive a 17 2500 a Ram 2500 diesel.
Okay.
Sweet.
So
can't hate
pulls
on
the
it.
fifth wheel. Yeah, pulls the fifth wheel and pulls the. Dude, I've gone back and forth. We went to the Hoonigans last year and did burn
right.
and stuff like that. So, and then we did SEMA twice. That thing's it's a good truck.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's just powerful. So it's nice. I can stay out of trouble.
Should have done that instead of the Honda Pilot across.
Yeah, for real.
Well, cool. Well, we're S3 Magazine. We've got a magazine coming out. When's the next issue coming out, Willie? I know we keep saying it.
Hell knows. It's at press. I'm blaming everything on Corona. See, this is why we need you to be our consultant, because I have a feeling you're going to tell me not to hang out at my pool all day, though, and I don't know. You're going to be like, well, first things first. You got to
No,
like,
see, I'm the muscle,
headline.
right? You're the creative. I want you to do exactly what you do.
Okay.
I just handle the business.
Yes. See?
Okay.
All right. Well, that's what we need. We need somebody to handle our business.
All right.
But anyway, subscriptions, $20. They come with a dope shirt, you guys. It's not a cheap $2 shirt. It's a nice one. We lose our ass every time we get a subscription. But we want you guys
Sounds like a solid business model.
right?
This guy knows it.
Anyway, with that, I hope you've enjoyed listening thus far, and we'll see you when we see you.